and the night her AirTag led me to room 604. I didn't go looking for proof. Proof came to me like a bored cat, casually, tail flicking, acting like I'd invited it. It was a Sunday that felt like a hold music loop. The rain had pulled a gray sheet across the city, and Elise was, as always lately, running one quick errand. I was reorganizing the kitchen drawer that collects the small dead ends of a life. Allen wrenches, museum ticket stubs, a key to a bike lock we no longer owned, when my phone chirped. Item left behind, it said. Elise's AirTag, the one she kept on her keys, the one she never left behind. The map opened on its cool blue ocean, and there it was, a white dot drifting across town and docking at a hotel I knew by reputation. The Kindred. Velvet chairs, lobby jazz, a bar menu with drinks named after sins. The dot settled on the 6th floor and stopped moving. The app asked if I wanted directions as if it were offering a choice and not a dare. I told myself a series of responsible things as I pulled on a jacket. I told myself she could have dropped her keys in a rideshare. I told myself concierge lost and founds exist. I told myself I should ask, not follow. Then I told myself out loud, don't be dramatic, and left the apartment, which is the most dramatic thing I've done this year. The Kindred's lobby smelled like allspice and expensive apologies. A man in a suit the color of forgiveness asked if he could help me, and I said I was meeting someone, which wasn't a lie if you tilted it. The elevator mirrored me into infinity, the kind of reflections that make you feel like an understudy for your own life. The 6th floor was quiet in the way money is quiet. Plush carpet, matte black room numbers, a long hallway with the hum of conditioned air. The screen showed the dot near 604. I stood across from it, suddenly aware of my hands, my breath, my ridiculous heartbeat rehearsing some trial in my ribcage. I wasn't going to knock. That had never been the plan, except of course it had been all along. My knuckles were almost to the wood when the door to 605 opened and a woman stepped out, froze, then glanced at my phone in my hand and then at hers, which was open to the same blue map. We stared. There's a type of recognition that happens not because you know a face, but because you know the feeling printed across it. She had that look. A person who had sneaked out of a movie to see if the plot outside was worse. You too, she said, a dry little smile that refused to be brave. Room 604. AirTag, I said, and held up my screen like a passport to a stupid country. Apple knows how to ruin a Sunday, she said, stepping into the hallway. She was maybe mid-30s, hair in a quick knot, coat shrugged over a t-shirt that said MISBHAVING in tiny cursive, which would have been rye if I had room for rye. She looked like someone who organized things for a living and then occasionally burned them down for sport. I'm Mark, I said, because if we were going to be strangers in a shared shame, we might as well be strangers with nouns. Lena, she said, I'm sorry, and then, I hate that I'm sorry. Me too, I said. She glanced at 604, then at me. What's our plan? She asked. Kick the door in, cry, form a support group in the hall, I have terrible snacks in my bag. I wasn't going to, I don't know, I said. I thought I would knock and ask if they'd seen some keys, like I'm a sitcom about to walk into a different show. Lena winced. My husband, Nathan, is allergic to sitcoms, prefers prestige television, long arcs, moral ambiguity, her mouth flattened, and apparently matinees at the Kindred. My fiancée is Elise, I said. The word still came obediently, like a dog whose home has moved. She likes maps and lists and nomming houseplants. Lena laughed, and it was the kind of laugh that sounds like it tried not to be a sob and won. Nathan likes running and precision, and that feeling you get when you cut wrapping paper in one clean slice. "Okay," I said, delirious. "That's kind of a good feeling." "It is," she said, and we both grinned for one bright, stupid second in a hallway where everything else was not. A couple passed us, their room key held like a talisman, hands linked, faces flushed with the intimacy of shared vacations. I felt like we were actors who had missed our cue and now had to improvise in the wings. Lena's eyes flicked to 604. The silence tightened. "What if we don't knock?" she said, voice soft. "What if we do something else first?" "Like what?" I said, and I heard the way my voice tried to sound like I had options. "There's a rooftop at this place," she said. "It's where the bartenders go when they want to be forgiven. 20 minutes. If we still want to break whatever's about to break, we come back and knock together. If we don't," she glanced at the number again, "we'll still have a choice someone else didn't make for us." I didn't want poetry. I wanted simple, blunt instruments. But the hall was suffocating me, and her face was sane in a way mine was. 20 minutes, I said. The rooftop was the city curled at our feet, the rain tapering to a mist that made the lights look like they had halos. We found a table under a gas heater that coughed a little heat at us like a guilty dragon. Lena ordered a drink with bourbon and absinthe, the reckless compromise, the menu called it. And I got something named after a weather phenomenon because it felt less likely to start a fight inside my chest. We didn't talk about our people immediately. Instead, we took the measure of each other with the yardsticks of regular life. She worked in logistics for an arts nonprofit. I wrote ad copy that tried to convince people that a sofa could change them. She had a sister who spoke in absolutes. I had a father who apologized in coupons. We compared childhoods like old injuries and found the faint scars amusing. When we did say their names, Nathan, Elise, it was like unwrapping a glass object in a crowded room. Placed gently between us, it could be shared. Thrown, it could damage the wrong people. "How long?" I asked. "For me to suspect," she said. 2 months of staying late and showering twice. A week of dreams where I can't find the right floor in an elevator. Today of knowing." She sipped and made a face. "You." "Little things," I said. Laughter in the other room that didn't need me. A do not open folder on her laptop named literally that, and I didn't open it, and I'm still arguing with past me about that. "Do not open," Lena said, rolling the words in her mouth. "A label and a dare." "I don't want to be the guy who snoops," I said. "You're the guy who showed up," she said. "I think that counts as honest cowardice, which is the only kind I can stand right now." The absinthe found her eyes and lit them in a way that made the heater suddenly unnecessary. She leaned in. "Do you know what I hate most? Not the sex, if it's sex. The fact that they found a story without us. That's the insult. They wrote a scene where we're props." I looked at her hand on the table, the small crescent of a scar near her thumb. "We could write one," I said. The words felt like they arrived from somewhere with worse judgment and better timing. She lifted one eyebrow. "A scene," she said, completely deadpan. "A story," I said, suddenly embarrassed and stubborn. "Where we're not props, where we're people who get to decide the next frame." She held my gaze, and something between us felt like a match head thinking about heat. "What kind of story?" she asked. "Not revenge," I said. "Something slower, a choice. A kiss that answers a different question than the one we're asking." Lena looked down at her drink, at the curl of citrus leaning against the glass like a flirt. When she looked up again, her mouth was a complicated shape. "I want to be wanted without an asterisk," she said. "But I'm standing on a roof with you, and downstairs the life I thought I had is being revised. So fine. Let's be honest in one place." She reached across, palm up. My hand went to hers like it had been there before. Warmth, human and clumsy, the exact right shock. We didn't kiss. Not yet. We sat like that, the heater clicking, the city pretending not to eavesdrop. After 20 minutes that felt like trespass, we went back to 6. The hallway hadn't changed. 604 was still a polite black plaque. We stood there, two adults with phones and dignity, and I knocked. I have never loved and hated a silence so much. Then the chain slid. The door opened the width of an apology. Nathan's face appeared first, then the slice of Elise over his shoulder, both of them wearing the expression of people who have been caught in a superstition. "Hi," Lena said, voice bright and murderous. "We were in the neighborhood." Elise stepped forward, mouthed my name, maybe a spell. Nathan's mouth did fish things. "This looks bad," he said, which I would have laughed at if my lungs hadn't quit. "We could narrate," Lena said. "But let's skip to the end. You two are doing a thing, we aren't part of it. Now we are." Elise tried to speak. Her throat decided against it. I looked at her, at the flush on her chest, the hair she smoothed with the reflex of the guilty. There was a dent in my love like the one a ring leaves when it is removed carefully and for a long time. "We're leaving," I said. "We'll talk later." I don't know if I meant she and I, or all of us, or the upstairs rooftop where the air was easier to live in. Lena beat me to the next move. She reached out, placed the hotel key in Nathan's palm. "Keep it," she said. "You paid for the room. Keep the lie too if you need it tonight. It looks expensive." We turned and walked. It felt like falling in a controlled way. The elevator doors closed us into a small metal confession booth. We faced forward like strangers again. Neither of us spoke until the lobby's jazz hugged us. "Where to now?" I asked. It sounded astonishingly normal. "Somewhere that isn't a room," she said. "Come on." We walked without destination until the city got tired of pretending and let us see the river. We leaned against the railing and watched a barge shoulder its way through the dark. It was cold enough that our breath made visible agreements. Lena touched my sleeve. I turned. There wasn't any ceremony to it. The first kiss was an if. Not a theft, not a dare. A question we both answered at the same time. Her mouth tasted like the green licorice of the absinthe and the mortal sweetness of someone choosing you for no one's benefit but her own. It wasn't the kind of kiss you have to be forgiven for. It was the kind you live up to afterward. We pulled apart, eyes still closed, two people recalibrating gravity. When I opened mine, she was watching me like a person reads a map that suddenly makes sense. "I don't want to be a reaction," she said. "You aren't," I said. "You're a beginning that complains like an old hinge but opens anyway." "That's almost pretty," she said. "I'll allow it." We walked again. We bought coffee from a kiosk whose light made our hands look like film stills. We didn't touch much after that. The kiss was enough of a declaration for a night that had already used up its allowance of plot. When we reached her building, a modest place with windows that did not lie about what they contained, Lena stopped. "I don't bring broken things upstairs," she said gently. "Not tonight." "I'm not asking," I said. "I know," she said. "That's why I want to see you tomorrow, and the next day, when there's less theater and more Tuesday." We exchanged numbers with a ceremony that felt more intimate than the kiss. She typed my name and then, beneath it, wrote a note. "Met at the Kindred, chose the roof." She showed me the screen and smiled like we had stolen something useful from a museum. I went home to an apartment that had been rearranged by the truth while I was gone. Elise was not there. She had texted, a message too long for the lock screen. I didn't open it yet. I put my phone face down on the table and stared at the small bowl where we kept our keys. I took hers out, heavy with the AirTag, and set them on the counter. I made the cowardly tea of people who want to be good and the reckless toast of people who might be. When I finally read her message, it was what I expected and what I didn't. Apology, history, a map of how we got to 604 and why she hated herself for having enjoyed any of it. She said she loved me. She said she didn't know what that meant right now. She asked if we could talk in the morning. I wrote back that we could talk, and also that whatever story we told each other next had to be one we could live in without setting off sprinklers. I slept badly and woke early and cleaned the kitchen like a confession. At 9, I met Elise in a cafe where the plants had names. We spoke as people who have both hurt and been hurt and are trying to be mathematicians about it. We calculated a pause, not an ending. We cut a clean slice down the middle of our calendar, moving the shared plans to a later date and each other's toothbrushes to separate drawers. We left the ring in its little velvet mouth, and neither of us reached for it. At noon, my phone hummed. Lena, there's a very honest bench 3 blocks east, the one with the view of the bakery and the dog that thinks it knows me. Come. I went, of course I did. She was on the bench with 2 coffees and a face that looked like it had slept in its real shape. We didn't kiss. We did that other intimacy, the one where you tell the truth without shouting. We sat so close our coats learned each other. When the dog arrived, it sat on my shoes like consent. Here is the part where I tell you what we became. The answer is that it's still in present tense. We are careful. We are reluctant to be a spectacle. We are stupid about each other in private. We navigate the narrow bridge between sorrow and desire with the long balance pole of humor. There are nights we stop halfway across and recite what we know, that whatever Elise and I do next will be human and complicated, that Nathan might move aggressively toward redemption or away from it, that nothing cancels what our mouths already said to each other under a cheap city moon. Sometimes, in the safe dark of her apartment, Lena pulls me close with a slow, sure gravity that has nothing to prove. We learn each other like a new language spoken at a whisper, consonants softened by permission. We keep it somewhere that can survive daylight, hands tracing, breath measuring breath, a geography of want with clear borders and open crossings. We leave room for the morning to recognize us. On my phone, the map still exists. It tells me when keys move, when dots drift across a screen and settle in rooms I'm not part of. I keep the notifications on, not because I want to be haunted, but because I like the reminder that everything leaves a trail. I want to be the kind of person who follows the right ones. If you're waiting for the moral, I don't have one that looks good on a throw pillow. Here, what I know. I didn't go looking for proof, but when it found me, I did not pretend not to see it. I went to a rooftop with a stranger who knew my face without knowing me. I knocked on a door and chose not to enter. I kissed someone because I wanted to write a different scene, and then I took the time to learn if we were a story worth keeping. The night her AirTag led me to room 604, I thought I was heading into an ending. Turns out, it was the part where the plot finally learned my name.